Good morning and welcome to the brief on Badlands Media. I'm your host, Patrick Gunnels, joining you from Austin, Texas, this July 9th, 2024. And I am sorry to say that there is a problem with StreamYard interacting with Rumble. I don't know why that is, but it just is. And so I'm using the Rumble Studio, which I'm quite inexperienced at. In the meantime, though, I can bring you the brief. Yes, I can. In fact, I can bring you the Badlands News brief. And there we are. So I'm just going to knock this out because it's the Rumble Studio. I'm extremely inexperienced using it. And I'm not that good at it either. It's a different interface. I'm not used to it. But on the bright side, the only real thing that I have to check on is the advertisement, and the advertisement is going to be Epic Minerals or possibly Tulip Blooms. You might notice I have a different background here, and that has to do with the fact that we had a hurricane in Houston and our power is out, and the power is still out. It's really quite breathtaking when you think about it. We didn't used to live in a world where where a windstorm would knock out the electricity every single time. And yet, here we are. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Do me a favor and hit that thumbs up. See if we can't maybe get a little bit of traction within Rumble. We're getting messed with right now. And I don't know what to say about it, but we are. There's no question about it. Getting messed with, and it really sucks. We have 4 people watching on YouTube, 736 watching on Rumble. I'm not sure how many on X, but we have an issue, you know. This is freaking weak, guys. So open to suggestions, of course, as to how we proceed from here. We do get perfectly good engagement on Twitter. Y'all just can't figure out how to use chat, and that's a real bitch. Now, using chat, we can teach you. You just click on a certain link, but the number of chats that come through in X, it's just awful. But I'm not going to belabor that point. I want to remind everybody to go to epicminerals.net. In a world filled with toxins, go to Epic Minerals and get the Zeolite Extra Spray. It's amazing. It binds to toxins. I spray it religiously every single day. Don't forget to get the Epic Minerals Creamy Body Butter. Guys, it has so many amazing things in it. And there's not a single thing in there that you wouldn't want to put into your body. Everything in it is food grade. It is mango butter, shea butter, kokum butter, contains argan oil, amaranth oil, bambasu oil, apricot kernel oil, and a little bit of vitamin E. It's the best body butter ever. So definitely check that out as well. Don't forget to get Rainfall, guys. Rainfall with the power of aloe to heal you. It is the best lotion that has ever been made. It makes dead skin tumble directly from your body. It'll heal sunburns right in front of you. Just get your hands on it. Rainfall. All of these can be found at epicminerals.net. Make sure to use promo code BADLANDS to pry an additional 10% from my grasping hands. What do you say we just get into the news right now? How's that sound? And Ash is off today, needless to say. From the Hill, aggressive Biden goes full force against calls to step down. President Biden is getting aggressive and going on offense as he seeks to beat back calls that he leave the top of the Democrat ticket after a party uproar over his poor debate performance against former President Trump. Biden's new take no prisoners strategy is a significant change from the last week, when some complained he was late to call Democrats and counterpunch amid rising calls for his withdrawal. It is intended to buy more time as he and his advisors run out the clock ahead of the Democrat convention while framing Biden as the person who is controlling the shots, Democrats close to the Biden campaign say. The strategy is a defiant one, said one strategist close to Biden's inner circle. It's basically, I've got the delegates, so I control the process here, and basically I control the narrative. Democrat voters voted for me to be the nominee, and I'm going to be the nominee in a number of weeks. In a letter Monday to Democrat members of Congress, Biden said it's time to unite behind him as the way to defeat Trump. firmly rejecting calls to step down ahead of lawmakers' return to Congress. Quote, "The question of how to move forward has been well aired for over a week now, and it's time for it to end," Biden wrote in the letter. "We have one job, and that is to beat Donald Trump. We have 42 days to the Democratic convention and 119 days to the general election. Any weakening of resolve or lack of clarity about the task ahead only helps Trump and hurts us. It's time to come together, move forward as a unified party, and defeat Donald Trump," Biden added. The Hill. Our take. We're entering week 2 of Biden versus the deep state, and things couldn't be going better if they were scripted. In the last few days, our boy Blue has managed to draw out the men behind the curtain in the form of elites like Ari Emanuel, Reed Hastings, and even a Disney heiress, painting himself in opposition to the very establishment that funded him while simultaneously putting the country on wet works watch. Wet works meaning murder. Wet works watch by issuing what I see as a direct threat to the CIA by claiming that only an act of God is going to remove him from the ticket. This shocking, to them, stance from our boy has accelerated the crisis cascade within what I've been referring to as the deep state archipelago, which describes the disparate factions now vying for narrative and actual control in a very public intrafaction info war. Some of the smarter cretins within the media industrial complex are also starting to wonder belatedly why Trump and company are so quiet. It's simple. They're letting their boy cook. Burning bright. Next. From Modernity.news, MSNBC host calls for Biden aides to be allowed on stage with him at next debate. MSNBC host Lawrence O'Donnell has called for allowing Joe Biden to have aides with him on stage to speak for him and help him sound coherent. Yes, really. This is where we are now. O'Donnell said that it would be good to, quote, allow the candidates to have as many staff as they want, join them on the stage throughout the debate, and make sure that all of them have microphones. He added that, quote, the candidates should be allowed to turn to their staff and confer with them about anything at any time in the debate, quote, and we should be able to hear everything they say so we can hear if the candidate has competent or incompetent staff. We could hear the candidate overrule some advisors and say something else, he continued. We could watch the candidates actually think and process information, including possibly information that they might not know until a staff member tells them or reminds them, O'Donnell further suggested. He continued, a candidate should be allowed to let staff members actually answer questions for them. Modernity News. Guys, this is so delicious. Our take. I guess we're not getting rid of Biden after all, since MSNBC is discussing accommodations for his next debate in September. The accommodations are hilarious and, in my humble opinion, dangerous. Last week, Biden apologists were claiming it's a whole team you're electing, not just the one guy. Now they want the team to be able to speak and debate for him. That's not how this works. This guy is running for the most powerful office in the world, and he obviously has late-stage dementia. While that's only become undeniable for the Mockingbirds and their ever-diminishing audience since the debate, we in the truth community have been pointing out for years that an unelected shadow cabal is running the nation. In another win for conspiracy theorists, the regime is now admitting it, claiming it's a good thing and suggesting that the shadow cabal be allowed to debate instead of the demented old criminal. It's a very silly idea, and the American people should roundly reject it. That being said, since Hunter is now Biden's closest advisor, we may have just gotten one step closer to the debate of the sons. Donald Trump Jr. versus the first crackhead, an event for which I see no downside. Also, when are we doing that candidate golf match? Let's see the 6 handicap in action. Ash in America. Next, from The Guardian. Israeli government accused of trying to sabotage Gaza ceasefire proposal. The Israeli government has been accused of attempting to sabotage a U.S.-backed ceasefire proposal, according to Israeli media, by introducing new demands despite previously accepting the plan. Hopes for a ceasefire in Gaza had risen in recent days following reports that Hamas had given initial approval for a new proposal for a phased deal after 9 months of war since the attack on 7 October. Egyptian officials and representatives of Hamas said the Islamist militant organization had dropped a key demand that Israel commit to a definitive end to the war before any pause in hostilities, Reuters and the Associated Press reported. Two Hamas officials told Reuters they were now waiting for a response from Israel, where protesters took to the streets on Sunday to press the government to reach an accord to bring back the hostages still being held in Gaza. However, David Barnea, the chief of the Mossad Foreign Intelligence Service, who was dispatched over the weekend to Qatar, where talks are being held, was reported to have provided the mediators with a list of new reservations, according to Israeli media. The Haaretz newspaper cited a source familiar with the details as saying Israel's new demands were expected to delay negotiations and that it was not clear whether Hamas would accede to them. Quote, Hamas has already agreed to the latest position presented by Israel, the source told Haaretz. But in Friday's meeting, Israel presented some new points it demands that Hamas accept. Negotiations with Hamas were expected to last at least 3 weeks before the deal could be carried out, Haaretz reported. Times of Israel. And from Axios, top U.S. officials arrive in Cairo for talks on Gaza hostage ceasefire deal. CIA Director Bill Burns and President Biden's top Middle East advisor Brett McGurk are meeting with senior Israeli and Egyptian security officials in Cairo Monday to discuss the Gaza hostage and ceasefire deal and arrangements to secure the Egypt-Gaza border, for Israeli and U.S. officials said. Why it matters. The Egypt-Gaza border security arrangements and the reopening of the Rafah crossing are key issues to solve ahead of a possible hostage and ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said on Sunday that one of his conditions for the deal is that there will be no smuggling of weapons to Hamas from the Egypt-Gaza border. Israeli and U.S. officials said that while this issue isn't mentioned in the text of the proposal for a hostage and ceasefire deal, they want to find a solution through U.S., Egyptian, Israeli trilateral cooperation. Driving the news, McGurk, the White House coordinator for the Middle East and North Africa, arrived in Cairo Monday along with Burns. Axios. Our take. The head of the National Unity Party, Benny Gantz, who in June quit the emergency government in a sign of divisions over Netanyahu's post-conflict plans for Gaza, said, quote, Netanyahu, not everything depends on you, but you must show commitment, determination, and sincere intentions this time as well. You know as well as I do that since the previous proposal, we have lost many of the hostages who died in captivity. And there's the slow knife from Benny Gantz. Surprised me, as I'm sure many of you already know. From the beginning, I've been suspicious of the truth behind the October 7th attack. Back in September, I was warning everybody on Badlands Daily to watch out for efforts trying to derail the Saudi peace initiative, the two-state solution, which was about to be signed. Now we have the mainstream media reporting that the IDF issued the, quote, Hannibal Directive on October 7th, an operational order that is designed to protect Israeli national security by requiring IDF soldiers to kill any comrade being taken hostage by enemy forces lest they be tortured in order to extract critical information. On October 7th, this procedure was extended to Israeli civilians, resulting in hundreds of people being killed by helicopter and tank fire from the IDF. Back in November, CanCon and I reported this exact information, citing an interview conducted by the cradle of one of the IDF helicopter pilots from that day. Many dismissed the reporting as Hamas propaganda. What I expect is for Netanyahu to continue to subvert and delay any deal to get the hostages back, assuming there are even hostages still out there. Because those hostages are Netanyahu's lifeline, they justify the continuation of this war, which Netanyahu needs in order to avoid the pending prosecution against him. This past weekend, I found a fascinating lecture given in May 2022 by a journalist named David Sheen, where he explained the nuance of Israeli politics. He explained that the political landscape that encompasses dozens of individual parties can be broken down into 4 movements: the theocrats, the nationalists, the liberals, and the socialists. The largest and most dominant movement being the nationalist movement, the Zionists, which have historically held roughly 70% of the seats in the Knesset and can be distinguished between labor Zionists, left-wing, and revisionist Zionists, right-wing. The theocrats make up about 20% of the Knesset, with the other 2 movements comprising the remainder. The Zionists seek to dominate the Palestinians, a single apartheid state. But being secularists, their discourse is grounded in rational logic, where Palestinians would be allowed to remain just as second-class citizens. The theocrats also desire a single state, but one that is free of all Gentiles. However, being religious men who are inherently pacifists, they do not express plans to enact this state of affairs, leaving it in the hands of God to deliver it to them. According to Sheen, there has been a 5th movement that has emerged since the 1980s, which he calls the monarchists, a blend of the worst ideas from the nationalists and theocrats, creating a doctrine of eliminationism that naturally requires genocide. They are also expansionists, seeking to establish the Greater Israel Project that we have covered before. These people are radical zealots who are every bit as deranged and dangerous as radical Islamic terrorists, and as Sheen explained, they are most dangerous whenever Israel is about to sign a peace deal with Palestine. Remember, this lecture is from 2022. After facing corruption charges in 2020, Netanyahu has lost the support of many centrist nationalists, such as Benny Gantz, and theocrats, forcing him to form a coalition with more radical theocrats, but also these emerging monarchists. These monarchists, who follow the teachings of Meir Kehan, a Jewish terrorist who once plotted to blow up the Al-Aqsa Mosque in order to create a forever war between Arabs and Jews, but also called for the burning of churches and the murder of Christians, whom he considered the greatest enemy of Jews, Christians that is. See this 2015 interview with one of his most famous followers, Benzi Gopstein, who called Christians vampires and bloodsuckers, have been appointed as part of Netanyahu's cabinet. They would include Bezalel Smotrich and Itamar Ben-Gvir, 2 ministers that we have discussed in depth. They now hold Netanyahu's leash, as they have the power to dissolve his government if he doesn't continue the war, which they have expressly stated as their terms. I believe this is all part of Trump's counterinsurgency operation against these radical zealots, who have to be driven from power by the Israeli people. Make no mistake, they now dominate the Israeli government, and when you consider their radical view of Christians, they are no friend of the United States. All right, I'm just going to check in on the chat just to say hi. Please hit the thumbs up button if you can, and it helps a lot when you do that, not even joking. And I'm also going to add a video to this, and we're going to call it Epic Minerals, just so I can have the video all set up if necessary. I'm also going to give a crack at, what do you call it? You know, doing the Rumble Studio ad thingy. We'll see if that works. I just don't know. Epic Minerals, 60 seconds. There we go. I'm going to upload that while I'm continuing the show. Okay. Anyway, let's keep going. Next story from Breitbart.com. Alec Baldwin, involuntary manslaughter trial set to begin. Here are key things to know. Nearly 3 years after cinematographer Halyna Hutchins was shot and killed on the New Mexico set of the film Rust, Alec Baldwin is going on trial over her death. Here are the essential things to know. What charge does Alec Baldwin face? The actor is about to enter a New Mexico courtroom for the first time since the October 21st, 2021 shooting. He is charged with felony involuntary manslaughter. If a jury unanimously convicts him, he could get 18 months in prison. Baldwin, the star and co-producer of the Western, was pointing a revolver at Hutchins during a rehearsal in a small church on the movie set at Bonanza Creek Ranch when the gun went off, killing her and wounding director Joel Souza. Baldwin has said he pulled back the hammer but not the trigger, and the gun fired. Two major themes will predominate, one large, one small. The chaotic atmosphere on the movie set and the details of the Italian-made classic revolver that Baldwin pointed at Hutchins. It has never been officially determined who brought the live rounds that killed Hutchins onto the set. Prosecutors at the previous trial of Rust armorer Hannah Gutierrez Reed alleged that she was responsible. She was convicted of involuntary manslaughter and sentenced to the same 18 months in prison Baldwin faces. Our take. I once heard Burning Bright described the Karen Reed trial in Massachusetts as the info war for wine moms. The young thug trial currently on hold while an independent judge determines if the trial must recuse could be viewed similarly, albeit for a different audience. Now we have the Alec Baldwin trial, and it will be televised. Baldwin claims he didn't pull the trigger and that the firearm went off when he pulled back the hammer. I know leftists are largely ignorant on this topic, but that's not how guns work. Complicating matters for Baldwin, a witness in the case claims to have seen Baldwin pull the trigger. Who brought the live rounds to set has never been revealed, and it's unclear if it will come out in this court. This trial promises to be fiery. The movie's armorer, Hannah Gutierrez Reed, was already convicted and sentenced to 18 months, and Baldwin faces the same fate. But don't hold your breath that the radical leftist actor will face accountability for killing Helena Hutchins. Baldwin has assembled a legal team that rivals OJ's, comprised of mostly Harvard lawyers, to defend against the local New Mexico prosecution. Still, this trial may end up being the biggest red pill of all recent cultural court dramas. What will normies say about the judicial system if, when this trial concludes, the 26-year-old female armorer is sitting in prison for manslaughter while the famous actor who pulled the trigger goes free? Ash in America. They'll find a way to be okay with it. I have faith in normies' ability to delude themselves. From Business Insider. Modi's Russia visit shows India isn't worried about making the U.S. mad. In a move likely to anger the U.S., Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is visiting Russia on Monday for his first bilateral trip after winning a historic third term in office. Modi's two-day visit to Russia, where he is scheduled to meet with President Vladimir Putin, is significant in that it signals strong ties between Delhi and Moscow. It also shows the world that India is not afraid to pursue its own agenda. Vinay Quatra, India's foreign secretary, told reporters in New Delhi that issues between Russia and India have piled up and need to be addressed, per Bloomberg. Russia's relationship with India goes back to the Cold War, and trade between the two countries has grown since Russia started the war in Ukraine. India is a major buyer of Russian oil. Russia is also India's biggest arms supplier. Quatra underscored that the two countries' trade relationship has remained resilient. Still, Modi's trip will rankle many Western observers. Ved Shinda, a researcher and contributor to Australia's Lowy Institute think tank, wrote in a note on Wednesday. Business Insider. Our take. Putin's summer of bromance continues, and I have serious FOMO, fear of missing out. Just look at this love fest. Brothers don't shake hands. Brothers got a hug.
Hello. Уважаемый премьер-министр, дорогой друг, еще раз добрый день, очень рад вас видеть.
आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी, परम दोस्त, आपका स्वागत है, हार्दिक स्वागत है। आपको देखने से मुझे बड़ी खुशी है।
Официальные разговоры у нас состоятся завтра.
औपचारिक बातचीत कल होने वाली है।
А сегодня мы можем в такой домашней обстановке спокойно поговорить, наверное, о тех же вопросах, но неофициально.
और और आज अनौपचारिक रूप से हम घर के वातावरण में हम उसी माहौल होने वाली है।
Сегодня такой домашний станок. Спокойно поговорить, наверное, о тех же вопросах, но неофициально.
और आज अनौपचारिक रूप से हम घर के वातावरण में हम उसी मामलों पर बात कर सकते हैं।
Не было.
Ребята,
ऐसे हम किया इससे प्रॉफिट हुए भविष्य में।
предлагаем вдвоем вообще пройти с переводчиком.
Да, а мы там
Ребята,
подходим.
сюда, сюда.
Mika Brzezinski must be seething right now, bloody face and all. How can the mainstream media possibly cast Vlad as the villain when he is this charming? Everybody wants to be on his team because it's a team of winners. Nobody likes losers, and the people in the deep state are most definitely losers. And how about Business Insider asserting that Modi is cozying up to Putin in order to protect India from China? Y'all need to hire better analysts because that take is hot garbage. While there are reported tensions over the past few years on the border of India and China, I suspect that we are about to witness a heartwarming Modi-Xi moment that will leave the globalist camp screeching. Modi's trip will, quote, rankle many Western observers. Good. Eat your heart out, Joe Scarborough, ghost of base Patrick Henry. Next, from the Gateway Pundit. Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso sign Confederation Treaty as France loses colonial power and U.S. military withdraws from important airbase. In a milestone symbolizing the loss by the Western colonial powers of political and military influence in the African Sahel region, the military leaders of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger signed a new Confederation Treaty that they celebrate as a step, quote, towards greater integration between the countries. The move comes as the United States military personnel completed their withdrawal from Niger's Airbase 101 and is also leaving a separate $100 million drone base near Agadez in central Niger. The three leaders held a summit in the Nigerian capital of Niamey on Saturday, claiming to strengthen the mutual defense pact they established last year, the Alliance of Sahel States. So the interesting thing is the adjective form, the demonym for Niger is Nigérien, I guess. But it's Niger with an I-E-N, so as to distinguish it from the demonym for Nigeria, which is Nigerian with an I-A-N. It's all just a shit show. All right. Al Jazeera reported, quote, the signing capped the first joint summit of the leaders. Niger's General Abdourahmane Chiani, Burkina Faso's Captain Ibrahim Traore, and Mali's Colonel Assimi Goïta, since they came to power in successive coups in their bordering West African nations. It also came just months after the three countries withdrew from the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, regional bloc in January. Niger's Chiani called ECOWAS a threat to their states after the economic bloc suspended the countries and imposed sanctions. This treaty dashes ECOWAS leaders' hope for the trio's eventual return, the Gateway Pundit. Our take. Africa rising. We have talked about these three specific countries before, most notably Niger, where Putin deployed the Wagner Group to drive out the French UN troops who were kidnapping and raping young children. All right. Okay, so French UN troops who were kidnapping and raping young children. You know, I always call stuff fake news, but UN troops are kind of notorious. There was also that October 2017 incident in Tongo Tongo, where the Pentagon appears to have recruited ISIS to ambush and murder a platoon of Green Berets in order to make President Trump look bad. And that's another thing that I would not put past these people. However, grain of salt for all stories. The people of Niger have welcomed the Wagner Group as saviors, holding massive celebrations on Russia's national holiday for the past several years. It's very encouraging to see the people of Africa standing on their own feet, forming their own alliance, and working together to protect and promote their own self-interests. For many years, the messaging of the State Department has implied that Africa is effectively capable of self-governance. We know how racist those elitist liberal scumbags can be. So it would appear that the deep state bureaucrats have been proven wrong again. Safe to say that the Alliance of Sahel States, AES, is a friend and partner of the Sovereign Alliance, echoing statements from the Zimbabwe president at last month's St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, SPIEF, that, quote, Africa will soon roar like a lion. And now, a message from our sponsor.
He said something that really hit home about this phenomena of chemtrails.
Manganese will make you kill your mama. How much manganese are you spraying in my neighborhood at night while I'm asleep?
Military and some commercial jets have been fitted with huge barrels of at least 49 different kinds of documented chemical poisons. Barium is toxic to all mammals. Aluminum is known to diminish kidney function and destroy brain cells and cognitive function. A problem, a serious problem.
Patent number 5003186 describes cooling the Earth with metal oxides sprayed into the stratosphere.
And I thought, well, geez, this is what I do for a living. I was finding tons and tons of large quantities of aluminum, barium, strontium in the forms of oxides and sulfates. Instead of protecting the people, we are poisoning the people.
Detox and prevent metal poisoning at epicminerals.net. Promo code Badlands.
All right. Go to epicminerals.net, guys. Get your Epic Moisture and your Rainfall too. Every single one of these promotes detoxification. Internally, externally, all of it. Bonus items. China's Xi calls on world powers to help Russia and Ukraine resume direct dialogue. Chinese President Xi Jinping called on world powers to help Russia and Ukraine resume direct dialogue during a meeting Monday with Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban, state broadcaster CCTV reported. Orban made a surprise visit to China after similar trips last week to Russia and Ukraine to discuss prospects for a peaceful settlement of more than the 2-year war. Gee whiz, guys. That is AP News. Anyway, Hungary assumed the rotating presidency of the European Union this month, and Orban has since embarked on a peace mission, which, however, lacks the endorsement of other European leaders. Quote, China is a key power in creating the conditions for peace in the Russia-Ukraine war, Orban wrote on the social media platform X. This is why I came to meet with President Xi in Beijing just 2 months after his official visit to Budapest. Orban is widely seen as having the warmest relations with Xi and Russian President Vladimir Putin among European leaders. His visit to Moscow last week drew condemnations from Kiev and EU officials who insisted Orban was not acting on behalf of the whole European bloc. Their rebuke failed to deter Orban from extending a similar visit to Beijing, which he called Peace Mission 3.0 in a picture posted on X, AP News. I'm going to go back to this paragraph right here. Really let this sink in. Orban is widely seen, and this is an AP, okay? Orban is widely seen as having the warmest relations with Xi and Russian President Vladimir Putin, okay? So just think about that for a second. The sovereign alliance hypothesis is beginning to get aggressive confirmation in AP News. I think that's a big deal. Hey guys, do me a favor and hit the thumbs up on this video. We've obviously had a little bit of technical trouble with our things, and so you know, help us out. Hit the thumbs up. Buy from our sponsors. Ooh, hang on a second. We have campaigns. Maybe I could do a campaign real quick. There's the Rumble store. It's a merch store. Huh? Interesting. They don't really tell you the stuff anymore. Wow, they changed everything. All right, what do you say we talk about the Rumble store, guys? You know, Rumble, free speech. Let's do it. Let's see what happens. All right. Let's go. Let's see what happens. Ah, look at that. Rumble's exclusive apparel has finally arrived. They are now offering 20% off all purchases in the Rumble store with the discount code DROP20. If you want to support the brand that is fighting for free speech and fighting for our First Amendment, this is the best way to do it. They have tees, sweaters, hats, plus much more. Go to rumble.store and make sure to enter DROP20 as the promo code to get 20% off your entire order. Yeah, that's kind of nice, wasn't it? All right, let's keep on going, guys. And hello to the chat. Thank you so much for being here. All right, let's finish up the brief together, shall we? MAGA fumes over France election results. They cheated, from Newsweek.com. We're not fuming. We knew it was going to happen in advance. Donald Trump loyalists have lashed out at the shock results of the French parliamentary elections, saying the far right was cheated out of victory. The new Popular Front, a left-wing coalition, emerged with a surprising victory in the second round of voting in France on Sunday, but its 182 seats are not enough to secure an outright majority. President Emmanuel Macron's centrist Ensemble alliance came in second with 168 seats, with the far-right National Rally, which was widely expected to win the election since it won the first round of voting, finishing third with 143 seats. Macron announced the snap election in May after his centrist Together alliance, Ensemble, was heavily beaten by Marine Le Pen's anti-immigration National Rally at the European elections. The move was seen as a desperate attempt to avoid the far-right achieving power in France, with voters urged to back the hastily put-together left-wing coalition or centrist group to prevent the National Rally taking control of the country's parliament. Following Sunday's vote, numerous Trump supporters criticized the results after Macron's gamble to keep the far-right out of power succeeded, comparing the election to the 2020 and upcoming 2024 U.S. elections, Newsweek. Of course it was fake. I think that France's elections are less fake than ours, though. I think that they are more subject to actual votes than we are. But, you know, I'm kind of just hallucinating that when you think about it. All right, next. RNC committee adopts GOP's 2024 policy platform, including on abortion. The Republican National Committee's platform committee adopted a new GOP platform on Monday, and it softens language on the issue of abortion, marking a shift in the party's stance to more closely align with the views of former President Donald Trump. The platform says that Republicans, quote, will oppose late-term abortion while supporting mothers and policies that advance prenatal care, access to birth control, and IVF. Fertility treatments, according to the document obtained by ABC News. The 2024's brief section on abortion also states that the GOP believes that the 14th Amendment to the Constitution guarantees that no person can be denied life or liberty without due process, and that the states are therefore free to pass laws protecting those rights, bolstering Trump's view that the issue should be determined at the state level. That's a change from the GOP's 2016 and 2020 platforms that supported legislation that would have imposed a 20-week federal abortion ban, language that Trump ran on both cycles. ABC News. yes, we are all, in fact, 100% in favor of protecting the rights of unborn children. I think that should go without saying. Okay, guys, check it out. Is this the right? If you guys sent any super chats, I'm not sure how to look them up in Rumble Studio, and I didn't pull them at the beginning. Ooh, and it's not even pulling up rants in general. Maybe if I go look at it in, I don't know. There are none. No big deal. Okay. So thank you so much, guys, for putting up with my my halting attempt to use the Rumble Studio. Don't forget to go to epicminerals.net and get your Epic Minerals Zeolite Extra Spray, detox the heavy metals. Get the Epic Moisture Body Butter. Get your Rainfall. That's right. Rainfall is here with the healing power of aloe. All right, my friends, I don't think I'm going to be able to play the outro video because I don't think it's uploaded here. It might be. Let's see how would it not be? You know, outro. Ooh, I don't think there's an outro video in here. Altered State outro. I don't know. There's outros somewhere around here. Baseless intro, Badlands intro. Anyway, no outro today, guys, but thank you so much for watching. And I will see y'all next time. Bye, guys.